Welcome back to the Past My Prime YouTube channel. Dustin Prime here, and sorry, you just caught me taking a little break, chugging down this Diet Coke. Wait a minute, that seems like a Gen Z type behavior. Well, and apparently it is. I saw this news article on foxnews.com and it said, the fridge cigarette is Gen Z's new Diet Coke obsession that concerns health experts. So apparently this is some new trend for the Gen Z, the Zoomers, and the Gen Alphas. But I hadn't heard about this yet, so what is this Diet Coke obsession? Well, apparently these health experts are calling it a popular afternoon ritual. But is this just Zoomers having fun, or is there something darker behind this? I had to find out. And so of course, if I have to figure it out, I gotta go to the place that has all the knowledge. TikTok, of course. I mean, I am past my prime, that is the name of the channel. And this little term of a Diet Coke being called a fridge cigarette, what's that all about? Let's see.
I study trends for a living, and something I'm especially interested in is how trends start and spread in this very viral world that we currently live in. So this was posted on Thursday. Is a fridge cigarette. The fridge cigarette is Gen Z's answer to the smoke break, Fast Company says. But what's notable is how Fast Company positions it as a Gen Z trend, which, like, is it a trend that Gen Zers are taking a break in lieu of cigarettes, they're drinking Diet Cokes? Probably. Like, that is probably a true thing. But this idea of calling it a fridge cigarette has not been like a widespread catchphrase that people are using. But because this went viral and then it spawned all these other viral TikToks, here are more. And then Fast Company wrote about it, which will expose this trend to more people. It will then, I mean, that's the nature of the trend, but the way that the media and social media and platforms in virality create these moments that would otherwise just be like literally one lone TikTok, totally fascinating. And with that, it's time for me to go have a fridge cigarette.
There, she's saying that this seems like this is more like an AstroTurf type trend. Like, you know, it got popular in one article and then it just kind of spawned out of there. But then again, isn't that like every sort of trend? Isn't that the whole point of, like, you know, TikTok and things like that? So looking more into that news article, you know, it's saying a mid-afternoon cigarette break has been taking the new form of Gen Z with a sweet, bubbly twist. Videos about fridge cigarettes have garnered hundreds of thousands of likes on TikTok. And in this article, they quote one TikTok video as saying, just a little something to take the edge off. Time for my afternoon fridge cigarette. So it seems like this trend is some sort of coping mechanism. You know, it's a new dopamine hit. It's like going to have a cigarette break, but you don't actually have to smoke, but you can just crack open a Diet Coke and kind of get that same feeling. I don't think I've ever had a non-alcoholic drink kind of take me with that effect. And so these videos that they reference here, you know, kind of shows these Zoomers out here having a fridge cigarette to take the edge off. So you do wonder, is this part of just kind of bandwagoning and hopping on the trend, or do people actually do this as some sort of daily ritual now? And it has been said that, you know, cigarette smoking is like way down and that younger generations don't participate in it nearly as much as the previous generations, or, you know, even like my generation, like the millennials. And at this point, I would say it'd be hard pressed to tell if a fridge cigarette, a Diet Coke, is better than like an energy drink for you, or vice versa. But it really seems like, yeah, this is just like a dopamine hit type thing. You know, hitting the same neural pathways as like doom scrolling on social media, but this is just getting a drink. But it makes you wonder kind of how did this evolve away from, you know, something like a coffee at the end of the afternoon as like a little pick-me-up. And this wasn't just Diet Coke. People were saying the same thing about Coke Zero. You know, like right here, they even got the little nice little metal cup, metal can like this. Pop in the ice, get it perfect, let that foam pile up, and then just enjoy that Diet Coke taste, which is very different than Coke Zero. I will give them that. And if you didn't think that this topic was that in-depth, well, apparently there's lots of videos on how to make the perfect Diet Coke. Maybe this is part of the ritual.
Let's make the perfect Diet Coke. First thing you're gonna need is a lovely big glass. I'm gonna do a few scoops
Soda
of baby
glass.
cubed ice. Then I have some round ice cubes. One, two of those. And finally, I have these very long ice cubes. Top it off with a few more baby ice cubes.
Multiple types of ice.
And you've got to fill it all the way to the brim.
Okay.
Forget a little bit of lemon, a nice generous wedge like that, and squeeze that all in.
Kind of like at a restaurant.
And then the final thing is a crisp Diet Coke. Has been sitting in the fridge for at least 24 hours. Lovely. And you can't forget a pretty straw.
All
It's
right.
a crack.
Ah, yes, so the perfect way to kind of whip up a little Diet Coke there. She had the small crushed ice and then the larger spheres of ice, and then eventually that big, like elongated, almost like a popsicle of ice. Gotta smash that down in there, and then of course cut some fresh lemon, squeeze the lemon juice in there. Could even put the lemon on top, and then get that ice cold, straight out of the fridge, can of Diet Coke. Snap that baby open, pour it up to the very top of the glass. And so if this all seems very routine, I mean, I think that's kind of the point of it. And harkening back to that article, it did say this becomes a way for people to pause, reset, to reward themselves. It's a small ritual that offers structure or comfort in the middle of a hectic day. It can be a grounding for some people. And yeah, if you've worked with people who have gone out and they have their cigarette breaks like multiple times throughout the day, like, you know, sometimes over 5 times a day, they do use that as the little get out of the office, go get a break type thing. But then again, nicotine's also addictive, so that also plays a part. But what about a Diet Coke addiction? People slamming too many Diet Cokes throughout the day? Well, it seems so.
This is only for Diet Coke lovers, so if you're not a Diet Coke lover, get out of here.
Keep going.
Diet Coke lovers, I need your opinion. So my boss drinks a ton of Diet Coke. We're not talking like 4 or something a day. We are talking
How many?
12 a day. And I started saving all of his Coke cans, like making sure he's like leaving them out of the recycling just so he can see how much he's drinking, and maybe we could do something funny on social media for it. It's been 1 month, and you need to see everything he's drinking.
1 month.
I'd also like to point out he's in the office maybe 2-3 times a week
Cow.
because he's just on site visits. So this is just what he's drank in here. So can we all tag Diet Coke and, I don't know, show him? He's probably their #1 customer. I'm not gonna lie. He orders as much as a warehouse would.
If true, that is frightening. I mean, for a month, that was an excessive amount of Diet Coke. That was at like the Trump level of Diet Coke drinking. And she did say, you know, that was for her boss, so maybe he's stressed out. Maybe those site visits to the customers really get him going, and he has to come back to the office and just start pounding Diet Cokes. I mean, who knows? But is that his form of grounding? Like, is that his relaxation? And so, quoting back to that article, it did say, like, a psychology expert also noted that the cracking open of the ice-cold Diet Coke is a sensory experience. And like in that previous video, you know, she said you gotta have it perfectly cold so then you can just get that perfect crack of the can. It's like every level of this ritual is a little hit to that dopamine boost. And yes, the crisp sound, the carbonation, the cold hit all offer a quick, reliable burst of stimulation or relief. And yes, I see this trend less about the drink and more about the ritual itself. And so these psychologists have kind of pinpointed, you know, this is just opting one thing for another. But kicking something like a cigarette, which is extremely harmful and extremely addicting, doesn't mean that this is any better. It might be healthier, but maybe not for your psyche. Because what if you're relying on this too much? Right here it does say, you know, when Diet Coke becomes a daily emotional crunch, it can reinforce dependency patterns, particularly if it is being used to manage anxiety, suppress appetite, or avoid discomfort. And I wouldn't say this is a total generality about all Zoomers and Gen Alphas, but it does seem like the avoiding discomfort and kind of trying to take the anxiety away, especially in a place like the workplace, that does seem to be kind of a common occurrence. For younger people that I've worked with, it did seem like they get a little bothered quicker than, say, like millennials would. And the stress does seem to affect them way harder. But then again, the world is going to total shit. They can't afford houses. Some of them can barely afford rent. Car payments are ridiculous. Insurance is ridiculous. The dollar's losing its value. Face-to-face dating is almost non-existent. Everything's become reliant on social media. And one thing I always have to try to remind myself of is that a lot of these Zoomers and the Gen Alphas, they were affected by the Cororo, if you know what I'm talking about, during some of like the hardest years of their life. So I can understand how this would put them in such a position to be, you know, anxious, to be stressed out, to have this like discomfort almost like all the time. You know, those like 4.5 years were just so warped for some of like the best period of their lives. And another psychologist was saying that this is also very similar to a cigarette break because the ritual itself, like the stepping away and then having the Diet Coke, is like having something in your hands, so it's tangible. So instead of just being like a dopamine scroll on like TikTok or Instagram or something like that and trying to relax, it's like you can relax with this object. You have something. And in the world today where you own less and everything seems like it's a service and seems like it's rented, sometimes just to have something as simple as a drink yeah, I mean, it might really make an impact. So, have you tried kicking Diet Coke? Well, this guy did, and these are his results.
So I just went 3 months without diet soda.
3 months.
And let me tell you, literally nothing changed at all. Nothing happened in my life. Actually, my life probably got a little worse because of it, honestly, because I was missing it so much. So if anybody's trying to tell you, oh my God, like stop drinking Diet Coke all the time, like your life will change, they're just like straight up lying. I had my first one like a week ago after 3 months off of it. I went to Five Guys with one of my friends and I got like a large Diet Coke. First of all, best Diet Coke in my life because I didn't have one for 3 months. Because before I got off of it, I was having like 3 or 4 a day. It was getting pretty bad. And not just Diet Coke, like all diet soda, like Dr. Pepper and root beer and orange soda, like all the time. But that first one hit like crack in the 80s, dude. I'm telling you, that's probably the only thing that made it worth it going off of it was that the first one I had after was really good. But dude, like there was really no like physical changes. I felt no mental changes, like no clarity, like nothing. It was just like, what was it like? I'm kind of pissed that I wasted 3 months without diet soda. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So if anyone's trying to tell you to get off of it, don't listen to them.
Damn, so if you have an intervention that your friends and your family bring you to, you know, they're trying to tell you to kick the Coke, well, in that guy's opinion, don't listen to him. For him, it said it didn't really make an impact. You know, he didn't have any of that mental clarity coming back that some people say gets affected by like these drinks and things like that. And he said he was super addicted to, you know, just all these diet drinks in general. So maybe it's not just Diet Coke. Maybe his ritual was a little different. But yeah, he said having that first one back, man, it was like the best. Crack in the 80s. Which is very, very similar to where if you ever know someone or talk to someone who is a smoker and they say, man, that first relapse after like cold turkey and quitting smoking, that first cigarette was just amazing. And so what exactly is happening here? Well, back to like some of those psychologists, that's what they're saying. People don't realize it's not your brain that's asking for that aspartame or the nicotine from a cigarette for that matter, but it's the dopamine. And this psychologist, Dr. Muth, says the same thing about nicotine and quitting cigarettes, that they both hijack the dopamine pathways. Your brain gets the same temporary hit, the same reward. It's a false sense of satisfaction. And the doctor says, you know, that you should swap out that type of feeling for something else. Give your brain something else that it actually needs. Here they recommend, you know, having a balanced blood sugar and, you know, real stress management that could actually help your brain. But I think that's kind of further from the point. These Zoomers, they want something different. This is what they want. They want that tangible feeling as they talked about. And so it made me wonder, you know, if part of it is just this ritual, you know, this routine, knowing, hey, say at like 3:30, man, I'm really gonna get that fridge cigarette. What if you just filled up a fancy cup with ice, put some water in it, and put a straw in it, and then just took like a nice sip there? I'm wondering if you could start to repeat that and end up getting the same sort of hit. And you also have to kind of ask yourself or think, you know, was a lot of this trend just kind of bandwagoning on, like right here, hey, you know, I can capitalize on this trend and I can make some nifty little like meme products, like instead of it saying Marlboro like cigarettes, I could make it say Diet Coke. And hopefully I can sell a lot of these, or I can go viral with these. You know, so you wonder, like, are people actually taking part in this, or is just some sort of other scheme, some sort of other intention? I would say that's probably like 50-50 on the case there. You know, even right here, this like random food truck, I think this is New York City, where obviously they made themselves like a custom pack to put thin Diet Cokes in, and they're labeling them as like fringe cigarettes. So you know that they want people to walk by, see that, and think, oh man, hey, I'm gonna grab one of those. But it does seem like some people are becoming dependent upon this, like this girl right here.
I was gonna say, let me know if I'm insane, but we already knew that. So I stock my house with Diet Coke. I'm the only one in my house that drinks it. I stock it. Love it. I'm going to my boyfriend's house. They don't stock the Diet Coke. I don't stock their Diet Coke. So when I go over there, I bring an extra. This is my right now can, and that'll be my later can. You gotta prepare.
So she's heading off to her boyfriend's house where they don't have any Diet Coke. Maybe they got some other soda, or maybe they don't have any. but she has to bring some so that she's comfortable. She has them there, they're ready. So it's almost like that's getting to the level where, you know, you invite your buddy over and he brings like a case of his favorite beer. Oh, I know you don't drink this stuff, but I do, so I brought my own over. It's almost on the same level as that. Here, I bet that she's kind of memeing on this. She's drinking a diet soda and smoking a cigarette at the same time, you know, like, oh man, after work today, this is just perfect. You really earned that cigarette and Diet Coke. Others, you know, like this, hey, I'm just gonna take a little TikTok of me here, cracking open a Diet Coke and taking a sip. I mean, they could have walked into the office break room and grabbed one of those, and they're just posting to try to go, you know, viral, get in on the trend. But for others, I think it can be a serious problem. You know, like some of the things I mentioned. The Zoomers and the Gen Alpha, they're not in like the best spot right now in this place in the world. Everything's difficult. Social interactions have got difficult. Politics play a huge part in just daily stress. It seems like you have to be involved no matter what, even if you want to stay out of it. The world's in chaos right now. It's so hard to get a job. Hell, even getting food, you know, getting Chipotle, that's ridiculously expensive. So unless you're like set up and, you know, you're kind of already ready to go, maybe you had a great family, a great support system, you probably got a lot of money, things don't look that great right now. And so the horizon does look a little bleak. I would say it's incredibly stressful for a younger generation. Things might seriously be cooked for them and maybe all of us. So if I had to choose the lesser of the evils of like smoking, vaping, alcohol, or then being like extremely addicted to social media, I'd say let them have Diet Coke. Yeah, it might not be the healthiest thing you can drink, you know, the aspartame, that's got a bad rap, but damn, let these Zoomers have the fake vice of the Diet Coke trend. I think it's better than their other options. But as with everything, in moderation, I don't want to see you ODing on Diet Coke. Bruh. But that does it for this one. If you enjoyed this video and the content we covered today, hit that free like button, subscribe so we can hang out again, and then drop me a comment. It really helps new channels, so I would totally appreciate it. And YouTube thinks you'll like this video right here, so give it a watch if you can. Until then, I've been Dustin Prime, you've been you, and people, if things are getting stressful, if you need a little fridge cigarette, a Diet Coke, I think it's okay. Just don't overdo it. I'll see you next time. Later.